think my internet keeps going out. Everybody got back from training.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Penalty Loop Podcast, a podcast about biathlon by Jordan Gottschalk from Penalty Loop and a regular guest, RJ Weiss from Biathlon Analytics.
All right, so we are back. It is our first episode of 2026, so big Happy New Year to everybody. And we are joined by 2026 Olympian, US Olympian, Deedra Irwin. So welcome, Deedra. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So this is really crazy. Deedra, if anybody doesn't know, is from a tiny little town in Wisconsin called Pulaski, which I think has a population total of what, like 4,000?
Oh, something like that. Yeah.
Very
and
small,
then if you
right?
actually like the township that I live in is only a couple hundred people right outside of Pulaski in a little township called Angelica. So really small, rural. My block was 6 miles long.
Right. And this is what is so crazy to me is that my parents grew up in Shawano, which is what, like 20 minutes away?
Yeah, I probably could have decided to go to Shawano or Bondwell High School if my parents wanted me to.
Very, 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 very tiny little towns in Wisconsin, sort of near Green Bay. This country, which stretches, it's like roughly the size of Europe, 330 million people, and there is a World Cup, Olympic level biathlete who is from this tiny little place that's so close to where my parents grew up is really, it's just kind of wild to me. So I needed to say that right off the top because I know they're listening, and you are, easily their favorite because who else? I mean, you're from right there. So
oh yeah. We
making all the cheeseheads proud. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so just can you slightly or briefly describe it? Is that mostly farmland, agricultural, or?
Yeah, definitely. I grew up, my house is surrounded by cornfields. Maybe once every 5 years they do like soy or something like that to, mix in the soil. But yeah, my parents live on this little 2-acre, plot that they've made into a little oasis. We got a bunch of fruit trees and gardens and everything. But yeah, my lining like at least 2 sides of my house is a cornfield, and my neighbors used to have horses right next to us. And across the street or down the block, we have a whole cow farm or 5, like they're everywhere.
And that would be white part of the year with snow, typically?
Yeah, definitely. When I was growing up, we had snow December, January, February, usually about 3 months worth of it.
Mm-hmm.
I know this year my mom keeps messaging me that it's way too cold this winter and there's way too much snow. So I don't know what's happening in the Midwest right now, but my mom's not having it, but I think a bunch of the skiers are super happy.
No kidding.
I just pictured this, like your homemade trails in the field in the winter time to ski already, or?
Oh yeah, quite. My parents once we finally got them a pair of skis, they would break trails in the cornfields behind the house. It was super fun when they'd send me pictures and videos of that. I did it a couple times too when I was in high school just for fun. But yeah, I also remember going like skiing on snowmobile trails when I was younger, and I thought that was kind of a weird memory I had pop up recently in my mind.
And any shooting involved?
No, I did not grow up in a family that had guns or that hunted or did anything. So I think my first introduction to a rifle was, no, it wasn't even a rifle. I think it was a handgun. At Michigan Tech, they had a ladies' night at the range in the basement of the student development complex. And so I was like, oh, free ammo? Like, this will be fun. And I think we went down there and we shot like 9mm or probably little 22s or something like that, handguns. And it was really, really interesting. And then from there, I think I took a I took a rifle shooting class at Michigan Tech because I was like, why not add a gym credit to whatever I was doing? Anyway, it was mostly just to have fun with my friends. So, yeah, I didn't really get introduced to guns until I was well into my 20s. And then, yeah, the first time they handed me a biathlon rifle, that was 25 years old. So I guess what was good is my coaches always said I didn't have any bad habits. So them putting me into the really, really weird biathlon, prone and standing positions, I didn't really think anything of it. I was just like, okay. If anything, when I joined the military and they handed me an actual rifle, high caliber rifle, I went down into prone and my drill sergeants looked at me like I was absolutely crazy. They were like, why are you spreading your legs so far? What are you doing? And I was like, I don't know. Yeah, I have to relearn everything. It was pretty funny. I definitely had a learning curve, both in biathlon and in the military with my rifle marksmanship. But now I think I'm pretty good. I think I'm set up pretty well.
I would say so, yeah. I just want to say that the idea that the first time you held a gun was at a ladies' night is such a Michigan Tech thing. It just is like, I nothing against Michigan Tech. My grandfather went there, so it's just such a story that you wouldn't hear at so many other places. But it totally makes sense if you know the area at all.
Totally, yeah. I mean, the fact that they had and still have a shooting range in the basement of one of their buildings is still now that I know how rare that actually is, I'm like, Michigan Tech is such a unique place. And I'm so glad I got to experience it for college. I mean, they own their Nordic trails. They have the Alpine Hill. I mean, rifle range in the basement. It's such a unique spot.
It really is.
What was the sort of the history of that rifle range? Was it already there and they built a university around it, or?
Oh no, I think they built it in when they built the. Yeah, I think it was just up in the UP. Why not? I mean, you have a sauna in every locker room, and then you got a rifle range in the basement. What more could you need? I think it was also built by a bunch of Finns who probably knew biathlon. So who knows? It's a unique spot.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, everybody up there is deer hunting and whatnot. So I mean, it's it makes sense. If you know the area, it just makes sense. It would be weird if it didn't have it almost.
And is there a lot of Finnish heritage in the area? Because I always thought of Green Bay Packers with the big chunks of cheese that there must be a lot of Dutch influence, but I'm a little biased, I guess. But
yeah, no, down in Wisconsin for sure, definitely a lot of Dutch and German heritage and Polish. I grew up in a Polish town. But up in the UP, so I went, if you go 4 hours north from where I lived in Green Bay, you'll end up on Lake Superior at Michigan Tech. And that was definitely settled by a bunch of Finnish and Scandinavian miners during the copper boom of the eras. And so they have a lot of more Scandinavian heritage, which now after going to Norway and Sweden and Finland, I can see why they settled there. It looks exactly the same.
You are kind of the stereotype, I think, for the US biathlon, right? Started out doing something else, right? In this case, I think you were even track and cross country running before even getting into cross country skiing. And then you mentioned not even, I think, holding a biathlon rifle until what you said, 25. Yeah. So definitely the development curve comes at a much different time than it does for especially Norwegians who are basically given a biathlon rifle at age 7. And, so how long did it take you to really feel comfortable and to think of yourself as a biathlete as opposed to a cross-country skier who was holding a rifle?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think our last women's Olympic team, all of us I think I started biathlon the latest, but, Claire and Susan and Joanne all started
Mm-hmm.
around 22, 23 years old when they graduated college. I started a
Mm-hmm.
couple years after college when I was 25. And it's pretty similar to some of our men. Our men maybe start more when they're like 18. The pipeline is a little more better. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think a lot of us started out running backgrounds. So yeah, I didn't start Nordic skiing until I was 16 years old in high school, and I was mostly using it to stay in shape for running during the summer, because who likes running on snow? Not me. I'm sorry, during the winter.
Yeah.
So, and then it just sort of morphed for me. The more I got injured in running, the more I kind of relied on skiing to help stay in shape. And so while I was at college, I kind of just realized that my body just handled Nordic skiing a lot better. And so, although I was still a very competitive runner, I definitely found myself, my Nordic ski season kept getting longer and longer, and I was able to ski more, which led to me making the U23 World Championships in Kazakhstan in like 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of opened my eyes to like, maybe I should try professional skiing. And it was really interesting when I did start focusing on professional skiing full time, because taking out all of the running racing that I had been doing for, however many months of the year, along with ski racing, I went from really only training 400 hours because I was racing so much, to being able to put in the base that you need for Nordic skiing, more like 600 hours. And my skiing took a huge leap. But obviously, going into 2018, I wasn't like going to be one of the top Nordic skiers only after like a year of, professional skiing. So I was also like very, very much at the end of my financial ability to do Nordic skiing. So that's actually how I fell into biathlon. I was telling everybody I'm going to retire, and Joanne Reid reached out to me and was like, "Talent ID camp, come join the dark side, be a biathlete with me." And I was like, well, what's the worst that can happen? I'll just try it, and I'll give myself a year, and, then I'll probably still retire, because there's no way I'm going to get good at this sport in a year. And 8.5 years later, I'm here. Thankfully to the Army National Guard for finding that pathway for me, and definitely supporting me financially and everything with that. So I think for me, I mean, yeah, I started biathlon in like the fall of 2017. Obviously didn't make the 2018 Olympics, because that would have been insane. And then, joined the military. And I think my first like couple of seasons on full time on the World Cup were COVID seasons. So I feel like I
Yeah.
kind of got this really gentle introduction to what the World Cup is,
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't have all the pressure of the fans and everything right away. I definitely made my first World Cup when there were fans, and I freaked out in Hochfilzen and tried to like jump skate and like keep up with Denise Herman, because I didn't know who she was. I was just like, keep up with German. So, I had my few embarrassing moments before I actually got onto the World Cup full time. But I think
Yeah.
for me, when I finally felt like I was actually an established biathlete and not just like a rookie, fake it till I make it kind of like imposter,
Mm-hmm.
was probably actually not until after the 2022 Olympics. Even at the Olympics, I think I had that amazing result, and it was so
Yeah.
cool and such a unique experience. But after that, I definitely was like, I like had my perfect race, and I don't think that'll ever
Yeah.
happen again. And it wasn't until I think 2 seasons later that I think I got my 8th place in Lenzerheide, and I got, cleaned
Mm-hmm.
my first mass start. I think I cleaned my first pursuit, and I had all of these things come together that finally I think I was ranked in the top 40 at the end of the season. And I think that was really the season where I was like, okay, I can't say I'm a rookie anymore. Like, I think
Yeah.
I've figured out some more of the puzzle pieces, and I think I can finally call myself like a biathlete.
Mm-hmm. I
And did
still remember
you?
so clearly. Sorry, RJ.
Yeah.
Watching that individual race when you finished, what I think it was 7th at the 2022 Olympics, and just sort of the look on your face, like is almost like you could watch it in real time as it started to hit you what happened. It was just really cool, just as an American fan, and of course by that time realizing kind of where you were from. It's just sort of like the sentimental connection as well. So I just said, like, personally, it was really nice to be able to piggyback on that moment and kind of watch it. So I know you said you didn't feel like a biathlete until like, a couple seasons later, but really in that moment you really looked like one. So yeah,
Thank you. Yeah, I mean,
that was very, very fun.
yeah, I still get emotional looking back at that race, because I think it was one of those like very outside of myself, very like in the, what do they call that? In the flow, and I was
Oh
just
yeah.
sort of being a biathlete, doing what I'd been trained to do. And so I think, even now when I cross the finish line, when I know I'm an early start bib, I cross the finish line and I'm like, oh, I'm going to move down. But being able to finish that and only see myself move down a couple places and, I think, going from being completely unranked, especially in the individual,
Hmm.
to getting that top 10 and having now the best finish in US Olympic history for
Hmm.
biathlon, it's still to me like feels so unreal and just like what? Like I don't know if I could ever like replicate what that feeling was of just like, finishing and definitely like being excited about what I had accomplished, but then realizing and seeing everything. I don't think I slept for days after that. I also forgot Coca-Cola had caffeine in it and, was accidentally drinking that in the middle of the night while I was racing. But, that's another story.
Yeah.
So before Joanne Reid invited you to that first shooting, had you ever seen it on biathlon on TV? Followed it more specifically, or maybe just at the Olympics? Like, did you ever before that think, oh, that could be pretty cool, or were you too focused on running and later skiing?
Yeah, so I think actually looking back at some funny photos, in like my senior year of high school in like 2010, I made like my first JNs, I think is what it's called, a junior national competition in the US for like Team Midwest. And I flew all the way to Maine, in like middle of nowhere, Maine. I still don't remember where I was exactly, like Rumford or I don't know, somewhere. But they had a biathlon range at the Nordic Center. And I actually did try biathlon with
Hmm.
Russell Courier, who I ended up being teammates with later. And he's like iconic. He's an amazing American biathlete. But it was just so funny because I look back at those photos and Paul Schomer was there too, because we were both on the same team. And I think that was both
Yeah.
our first times like holding a biathlon rifle. But obviously like I tried it, thought it was super cool. I barely even know how to like stay in Nordic skiing at that point. So I didn't even know like how you could get into biathlon. But yeah, it was kind of one of those years later. Paul went to St. Scholastica and he got to hang out with Chad Selmala, who loves biathlon, really kind of pushed him towards the biathlon route after college. But for me, I didn't really have anybody pushing me towards it or introducing me to it. So I just never did it until Joanne told me about it. So was I watching it? Did I know it existed? Yes,
Hmm.
because I had a couple of like friends and teammates who did it, but like I didn't really realize what it was, and how big it actually was in Europe until I started doing it. And I think even
Yeah.
at the Talent ID camp, they had Andrea Hinkle there helping us out and teaching us biathlon. And they're like, oh, this is blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, sweet, Tim Burke's wife. No idea who she was. Totally like oblivious to the fact that this woman is like one of the most iconic biathletes, gold medalists ever in the world. And I'm just like, oh, cool. Nice to meet you. Yeah, I'm Deedra. I love running and Nordic skiing and like knitting or something. I don't know.
Have you
It was
ever
just
shot
funny.
before?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, so how did you get here? Why are you coaching us? Whatever. It was just so funny. And she was great. I think she just sort of like kept telling me about herself. And then eventually she just like dropped it on me. She's like, oh yeah, no, I have a lot of gold medals. And I was like, sick, cool, and
Yeah.
yeah. So, that's how oblivious I was. I was so oblivious. I had no idea. And still to this day, somebody will say some like iconic name and I'll be like, who? No, actually. I'm like, I know kind of who I've been competing against or who like I was watching when I first started biathlon. But other than that, like even Nordic skiing, I didn't really watch it that much while I was doing it. I loved doing the sport, and I think it's just kind of funny now. I think even my mom said that my niece, she just started learning how to ski in Minnesota, and I sent her a bunch
Oh.
of my old clothing because she's like my size already, and she's like 14. She's a unit. And so she's gonna be amazing. But I sent her all this stuff, and my mom didn't know I sent her this stuff, and went to pick her up for ski practice, and she walked out the door, and my mom had to do like a double take because she looks exactly like me, of
Mm.
course. And my mom was just sort of like, "Do you realize what you're wearing?" Like, do you realize, like, did you see what Deedra did this past weekend? I think it was when I got the 10th place. And she's like, oh, yeah, I saw that. She was like, she did good. She got 10th. So even my niece, kind of similar to me, is so oblivious to like what everything actually is when you're competing in the world. She's just sort of like, well, yeah, she's gotten 10th, whatever, like so casual.
There's actually something,
so cool. Yeah.
and I mean this as a compliment. It's just like something so American about that. Just sort of like, just sort of oblivious. I'm going to go into it. I'll make it work. It's going to be fine.
Totally. I think we have this, especially in a sport we don't understand, like biathlon. It's not until you like get here. And I think, the first time I was at like Open Euros, I think was my first competition in like 2018. Like I just got onto the range and there's so many people around, and the IBU Cup or Open Euros is still even smaller than the World Cup. And I was just like shaking. I was like, oh my God, there's so many people. Like I was so oblivious that there would actually be 100 people on the start line,
Uh-huh.
And then it's like, as I made, like, I think I qualified for my first World Cup in Hoogfilzen the next season. So that would have been like still 2018, but in the early 2018. Or late 2018. And so it was just like one of those funny things where like I remember walking through and then like looking back at the stadium and just being like, what is this? Like very, very just like unaware of actually how big biathlon is in Europe.
Yeah.
And I think it's like so many Americans still are. And that's every time someone says like they're thinking about coming to watch one, I'm like, please come. I got tickets for you. You got to see this. Like you have to.
Yeah.
You have to experience this. My leadership in the Army, we like force them to come over because like otherwise even they like don't realize how big this is. They don't realize like how much goes into biathlon in Europe.
Yeah, it's what you were talking about. Andrea Henkel, I the first thought that came up is like she's probably so experienced in talking to Americans who have no idea who she is and really don't understand the sport, especially when they're younger, right? So I'm sure there was part of her it was like, oh, here we go again.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure she was just like, okay, yep, another American who knows nothing about biathlon. Yep.
Yeah, it's apparently, especially because, the season shift more towards Christmas and New Year's is that they already have the highest TV ranking, I think, together with the 4 hill jumping event that they do around those days. And I'm not sure if it has to do with not being at the same time as that event to have more audience or even to get better. But the fact that there's like a couple million people, watching a broadcast and all the other stuff before and after is hard to imagine.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's even like that's one of the hard things that US Biathlon tries to explain when they're trying to get sponsorships, especially from US companies that don't really understand it, is like, no, we're the most watched, winter sport, in Europe during these months. And I think US companies will maybe hear that, but they don't actually realize what it means because they don't watch it. And so that's why I think a lot of successful sponsorships that we have been able to get are more from European companies who understand how big it actually is, And so I think definitely something we're trying to build in the US. I know when NBC had the rights to biathlon, somebody I used to go to college with like messaged me from a random bar in like California and was just like, what's going on right now? Because you're on TV. And I was like, holy crap, they're showing world champs on TV in America, like on NBC. It was crazy. I don't even remember which channel, or I think it had to have been NBC, but that was like a really cool moment where like my friend was at a bar watching whatever. I think it must have been a world champs back when NBC had the rights, but it was just so crazy. And I think that would be something cool for sure for the US to have happen more often, even if it's on like ESPN Ocho or I don't even know.
Do you remember back when ESPN in the summertime they would have like on the outdoor, like the guys like chainsawing the logs and like the log rolling competition? Do you remember this at all?
Oh yeah. lumberjack competitions
Yeah.
for sure. Now there's like
Yes.
cornhole on TV. I'm like, come on, we've
Yes.
got to be cooler than cornhole.
That's what I'm saying. Is like how if once people watch it, like there would be people who want to keep watching it anyway.
Okay.
What do I know?
Sure.
What is cornhole?
Oh, bag toss. I don't even like. What's another?
Yeah, it's like
a tube.
Okay.
Yeah, the boards with the hole in it that you throw a bean bag into.
And that's like a serious TV program?
It is actually
now
on
it is.
TV on ESPN. Yeah, people watch it. Yeah.
Wow.
They make more money than all of the US biathletes, besides maybe Campbell. You know, he's doing really well for himself. But like, just at one of their tournaments, they do so well.
Oh, yeah. They make a ton of money. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
See, with all due respect to people that play cornhole, I wouldn't necessarily consider it a sport until I knew it was actually broadcast and people make money with it.
I mean, that's the same with like when I first turned on Eurosport here and watched darts and pool.
Yeah.
I was shocked. Snooker. Amazing athletes. But, you know, I wouldn't have ever thought it's actually a sport until I saw it on Eurovision here, or Eurosport.
Yeah, it's different. But
really
it
wild.
has similarities in the sense of the mental, dealing with the mental pressure.
Oh, definitely. I couldn't do what they do.
So you mentioned a little bit ago how you met Joanne Reid. Was it 10 years ago, 11 years ago now?
I met her in 2015, actually, when we both qualified for U23 Worlds.
Yeah. So now, after a couple years away, and if you want to talk about it, fine. But if you don't want to, I totally understand. She's back. That's got to be awesome. It's like having your sister back on out in Europe with you, right?
Exactly. I'm so excited that she's back and that she's happy and she's, comfortable and enjoying herself. I think, when I first joined and got on the World Cup, it was so amazing to travel with her. But I think we both experienced such annoying things, and it just was a lot to pile up on ourselves. And, I respect her for taking that break. And then I also am just so in awe of her ability to come back after, she says she wasn't training, but, we're all a little addicted to the exercise. So, just to see her come back and just be so calm and dominant and just really have a huge smile on her face. I think, when I was even in Hoogvlietsen, because that's the only place we've kind of overlapped so far, after I cleaned my sprint, it was so amazing to see her face at the finish line again and tell her good luck for her race and everything. So for me, it's like weirdly like nostalgic and so comfortable and amazing and emotional in all the good ways. I'm just so proud of her, and I'm her biggest fan. So, and I think she'll say the same. She's my biggest fan.
Were you there in Antholz when they did the Olympic trial races?
No, I decided to stay away. There were a couple people who were getting sick, and I was like, I don't want anything to do with it. So I stayed in Livigno for a few extra days. And then she'll be coming over here to Oberhof for the relay. So.
Okay, excellent. Because I would say she had a very good week there, and she will be joining you at the Olympics.
Yes, I'm so excited. I'm so proud of her again. Like just going from not competing, not even having IBU qualifying points to getting a top 10 on the IBU Cup and now making our Olympic team. She's just she's an incredible human.
She had the top 10, right? But she also had that mixed relay day that I think she did with was it Jake?
She did. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They doubled up. They did the mixed relay and the single mixed, and they were 5th and 7th, I think.
Yeah, they did amazing that day. And she was so excited to be able to race in Lenzerheide. She'd never done it before. And so I was like, yes, you're going to have so fun. So she's kind of starting to collect some venues being on the IBU Cup, and she's really enjoying it. She's like, now I've raced in Lenzerheide. She really is excited to race in Lake Placid. So it's going to be sweet.
Can we talk about your season? I know that we've talked about everything else, but you mentioned just a couple of years ago you started to feel like a biathlete. Well, I mean, the season, you're sort of racing out of your mind. Like, and I know the season got off to a rough start. You and I traded messages back and forth, I think, after the trials back in October, where you had a kind of nasty fall, and it somehow you're able to get up and race the next day. I don't know how you did that.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that my prep for this season was less than ideal, and my trials races were all very bad. So yeah, I think it's kind of funny now looking back at it, but there was definitely a part of me, especially after I crashed and ended up in the ER in Utah, and then went to Obertiliac and didn't have a super great showing at those trials races. Definitely was a part of me that thought if I don't shape up, then I might not make the team. But I'm glad that, this is biathlon and anything can happen. You can go from, missing 70% shooting 70% in every trials race that you compete in to, cleaning, on the World Cup if you have that, ability to, I guess, for me, just keep persevering. So I'm really proud of myself for that, for sure. I think there was, like I said, not the best prep, and definitely was not sure what to expect coming into this season, but I'm really, really proud of the fact that I was able to have those results in Hoogvliet to guarantee my Olympic spot, and then back them up in Le Grand Bornand with another clean and another 90% shooting and 2 more races, and getting to do the mass start and ranked top 25 in the world right now. I think I'm still coming to terms with all of it, because if you would have asked me back in October, November, if this was going to happen, I would have said no, I'm going to be working my way up to the Olympics. So definitely it's, and that's one of those things I think that you learn over the years is it's biathlon. Anything can happen. The shooting means so much that, you have to be able to bounce back from a bad shooting day. You have to be able to, even in my individual in Östersund, you have to be able to miss 4 and swear a few times on the range. And then by the end of the race, you have to be able to clean a standing, and I think it took a lot for me to talk myself through that race, but I had 40 minutes, of skiing to really get myself back in the rhythm and on track for hopefully just finishing the race in a decent position. So it's such a unique sport, and I've learned so much over the years to be able to give myself that ability to have really bad races and be able to show up the next day and give myself the best shot. And I think that's definitely, something I'm really proud of, and something that I think, I can still work on along with every athlete, giving ourselves a little bit of leeway and forgiveness when we have those bad days. Because there's just a good day right around the corner. And I think that's what's really cool too about my Olympic finish in 2022 is unranked. I had the perfect day to a 10th place, and that was able to build up so much more of my confidence throughout the years to be able to, go into this Olympic cycle and be able to, even though having a bad fall and prep and everything like that up to Östersund, to be able to still, persevere and know that I belong at the Olympics, that I know I can get good results. And so it's been quite a emotional season already. And we're not even to the Olympics.
So I'm just thinking back what you said when you started and you were trying to keep up with Denise Herrmann, not really knowing who she was. I'm assuming you're a bit more familiar with at least the active athletes. Is there anyone who stands out, not necessarily on the US team, but just in general in biathlon, where if you see her or him, that you're like, oh my God, that is so-and-so, almost feel a little bit like a little kid waiting for an autograph kind of thing?
Oh my gosh. It's kind of weird because after you've just been racing for so many years with them, it kind of just feels like I guess you're all just colleagues in this game. So I don't know if there's any current athletes, like I still like I love chatting with Doro. She's super fun and great, you know, and I think like Lou is really sweet too. And so I think in the finish line, anytime I get to say hi to like some of the like the top 10 ranked people, I'm always just like a little giddy. Um, but for me, it's still like super like when I get to see like Martin Fourcade in France, that's when I'm like, oh my gosh, I need an autograph. You know, like he's still iconic to me. You know, stuff like that. I think, you know, and when I get to see Denise Herman or like Marta Olsbu's been hanging out on the trails, or even Kaisa Makarainen. When I see them, I'm definitely like, oh my gosh, icons, you know, and they're all TV producer, like, you know, talk show people now. And so that's really cool for me for sure. So I still get that feeling of like, oh my gosh, hi. But I think for me, especially like the men and women's side, since the first couple years, I wasn't able to really overlap with a lot of the men because of COVID from other teams. It's like over the last 4 years now, I think I've been able to like interact with them more. And so when some of them actually know my name, I'm definitely like, oh my gosh, hey, like you actually know who I am, you know, kind of like, I think I still have a little bit of that where I don't really give myself the credit for some of the results and the rankings that I have, but I'm trying to remember. Yeah. Like even with all the Solomon athletes, when they do the fun little Instagram stuff. And so when like, I think they did a little funny one where they had to rearrange the letters of our name, and both Sebe and Vetla were like mine spelled weird Randy or Rando or something like that. And one of them was like, oh, that's Deedra Irwin. And I was like, oh my gosh, you were able, like, you know, like how to spell my name, you know? And so I definitely like, even just messaging them on Instagram and getting a response back, I definitely was like, oh my gosh, okay, cool. We're friends, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know, and maybe I misread that, but I think when we were in Oslo and we called your name, because you know there were, I think JT Bowe was there walking around, and I think there were some high finishers of that day being interviewed right next to us, and we called your name, and if I remember correctly, you seemed to be like, huh? Did somebody call me? And I think you were looking up to that little stand above it of the media zone, if there was someone there. And then I think Jordan was like, Deedra. So that was a really cool moment, because it's you know, you're walking amongst the best biathletes in the world, and at the same time you have I guess the humbleness of still being excited that somebody calls your name in the media.
Oh my gosh.
Of course, there's not a lot of attention from the US,
the media zone is just funny now, because a lot of the times I just try to skip it since literally no one wants to talk to us. But I think now that I've joked about it enough where I'll like walk through, and I literally said, I'm like, all right, time to start the walk of shame. And I think I said that after my individual in Östersund, which was pretty bad race. But actually the Norwegian media was like, come on over. Tell us what you mean by that. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh, that's cool.
And then they were just like, we heard you had some choice words on the range during your first shooting. Can you tell us what they were? And I was like, no, I'm not going to swear again, you know? So it was so now he's interviewed me a couple times. So now I think it's pretty funny that, you know, they look at the Americans, especially like Campbell too. He's a goofball. They look at us and they definitely know that at least we're going to have some fun answers, and that we do appreciate their willingness to talk to us and try to get some funny words out of us.
And he is that O-liner, or? Is that O-liner Bjørndahl, or?
Oh no, I don't know who it was. Some younger NRK guy. Yeah.
I was just going to say the whole vibe around the team this year just seems so relaxed. I don't know what it is. And it might just be perception, but, you know, watching, you know, like the social media things, like the chow, 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 chow thing that got, you know, put up today, or you guys, I think it was you and Margie who were dancing before the pursuit and then the mass start, Le Grand Bournasse. So, I mean, you guys all just seem pretty relaxed, and the results are there, and I don't know what's going on, but it seems like one big party.
Yeah, I think it's one of those unique things about the about the Olympic year. I think for sure me and Margie at that point were able to be a little more relaxed. We had known we'd made the team. And so at that point you're just sort of, you're trying to just enjoy everything that's happening in those moments, being announced to the team and, being able to race in the pursuit and the mass start. So, and also the music was great in France. They did an amazing job. But, I think too, yeah, all the social media surrounding the Olympics this cycle, I think is very unique and different than we've seen the last couple Olympic cycles. Like we have, a lot of social media now going into this one. And me and Chloe were able to go to the media summit in the fall, which was really cool to be able to tell our stories and share biathlon. And we had so many people after comment, like how difficult your sport must be, and I'm like looking at like Lindsey Vonn and like all these curlers too. And I'm like, your sport's difficult too. Like, we're all, and it's cool to be able to collaborate and meet everybody on such different levels, but we're all reaching towards the same goal. We all want to just perform at our best on the world stage. And so I think it's just been, at least for me, it's been a little bit more of a unique and relaxed experience going for this Olympics. Because like knowing that I could get the results this time and having non-COVID experiences has been like, I guess, really cool. So I think it's, I think the team vibe too in general is like, we have a really strong team on the men's and the women's side. And, it's not something we have been able to say consistently for the past, 8 years or whatever, that we consistently have a lot of really good athletes. So I think it's just been really cool. I think I just answered some, questions for a magazine today and they were asking, what it's like to be in an individual sport, but be on a team. And, I definitely, it's like iron sharpens iron. It's really cool when you're able to collaborate and work with people who are all at a really high level. So I think, adding Campbell to our team really helped our team. And it also helped him because, they have such a good collaboration on the men's side. And I think, us bringing in young Nordic skiers again and really just trying to see what happens, and I think, their ability to learn. And then obviously me and Joanne are veterans. Chloe's been a veteran. I mean, I think it's been really a unique collaboration of, pushing each other to not get, top results every time, but definitely push each other to get new personal bests and really increase the performance of every single athlete on the team. And so that's been really cool.
It was a bit of a swift or a shift in view of the Americans, I think, where, like you said, if you're one of the first starters in an individual and you put down a pretty solid time and maybe shoot clean, I think now people are like, oh, that's going to be a tough time to beat. Where maybe, a number of years ago, it's in America and I'm sure we can beat that. And it sounds harsh and I don't mean it that it's, went overnight, but I do feel that the Americans have made enough visibility, I guess, that people are more and more seeing you as contenders. And the likelihood of a day everything going perfect is maybe a little lower than, some Norwegians or Germans who maybe do it a bit more consistently. But at the same time, they also realize that, hey, if they have a good day, we better get on it because otherwise we're not going to beat them, right?
Definitely. I think that's very accurate in the last 4 years, especially. I think that our staff as a whole and our team as a whole has really, really taken a step up, with ski selection, wax selection, grinds. I mean, we have one of the best grind people on our team in the world. So I think we have the grind machines, we have the fluoro machines in our cabins. I think they've invested that all in the right place to really give us the potential as athletes to perform at the highest level. So I think when I first started racing on the World Cup here, there was definitely some times where, I felt good, but maybe my skis were a little off or, something like that. And I definitely don't feel that anymore. I think we have some of the best skis on the circuit every single day, and that really makes a huge difference in some of the results we're seeing, because when we're able to put everything together and clean those races, we are contenders. And I think it shows, and as athletes, but also like I have to give just so much props to our staff and our waxmen, the wax cowboys, as they like to call themselves.
Yes.
They've really just stepped it up. They've really just done such an amazing job. I even got a new pair of skis today, and I went out on it. And I'm like, ooh. Like, I feel like it's Christmas still. Every time I get a new pair of skis or new pair of boots or something, and so shout out to Solomon. Love Solomon. But I know that my guy Gio on the Wax Cowboys, he's in there picking out the skis for me, and he's working all the magic and getting me stuff that he knows I like. So I think it's yes, our performance as a team has gotten, way better than it was in past years, where you were watching and you definitely were like, okay, sometimes like Lowell Bailey cleans his individual and wins world champs. Sometimes we had that, but other times, we were definitely struggling on the consistency or even the equipment side. So I think I got to say, in the last 4 years, our staff has really taken a step up. Even we have now a full-time athletic trainer that flies with us and travels with us and everything. USBA has really, really been working to invest in the best way possible, and not just the athletes, in everything that surrounds us too, to make it so we have a more fun, enjoyable environment where we know we can perform well every single weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Do we need to edit that part out where you said we have our own fluor machine?
Oh, sorry. I mean, I don't know exactly what it's called. It's not a fluoro machine. It's like a fluoro testing machine.
Yeah.
No, I figured
How's that. Did I say that right? Yeah. No, we don't have a fluoro machine. No. You could just like put a little asterisk.
Yeah.
The dumb athlete doesn't know what the thing's called. Yeah.
Now I know the secret to the success. Yeah.
No, I think every team has that now at this point. They all have testers in their giant wax trucks.
Yeah. No, and coming back to what I said and what you just mentioned, I feel like in the past it was like if an American has a really perfect day, they still needed to have other athletes to have a bad day to make a chance for a podium. Where I feel now, if you have a perfect day, the other athletes better have a really good day too if they want to beat you, right? And that's so cool. Like, you check the scores after a race and you're like, oh, US got 7th in the men's relay, where 5 years ago you'd be like, oh, I hope that the men or women's team can get 4 athletes that are available to race in a relay. So I think you guys made huge strides in just getting noticed.
Definitely. Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's really a full team effort. We don't just have one athlete performing well. We have multiple athletes performing well, especially on the men's side. I mean, even last year, Campbell's 2 world championships medals, Maxime was there getting top 15s too, and it's like, of course, everybody was really excited about Campbell, but it was really cool, at least for me as Maxime's teammate for so long and everything, like to see, he was right there too. And normally only a top 15 would be a great result for us. So if having a top 15 and having a medal in the same day was huge for our team. And so I think definitely, like I said, iron sharpens iron. We're all moving up together. And I think that's like a really unique thing that we've been able to accomplish in the past 4-year cycle. And I mean, anybody who follows US Biathlon knows that we have our 2030 plan. And so I think USBA is definitely, trying to do all the right things in that plan to get us to, I don't even remember how many medals we're supposed to get in 2030, but whatever their plan is. I don't actually know their plan very well. We'll see if I compete until 2030.
You'll be there.
Woo!
Yeah. So speaking of Maxime, there was I think it was the sprint in Östersund where he and Campbell went out like their hair was on fire. Were you watching that at all? I think they had like 2 of the fastest 3 first laps skiing.
Oh yeah, I was in the stands watching, cheering, screaming. It was incredible. I mean, it just shows like they're training partners. They're pushing each other as much as they can, especially when they start right next to each other, because whoever's in front doesn't want to get caught by the guy behind. So
yeah.
So I think, it's really been cool to see everybody on the men's team, to see how they've all really upped all of their games to try and match Campbell, chase Campbell, push Campbell. And in that, they're all doing that themselves too, and they're all improving so much.
So are the women doing that for you, where they're trying to chase you now that you have 17th, 10th, 25th, 13th? Now they have to chase you.
Definitely. And I think that's been a unique thing. I think we still have, and in biathlon experience, half of our Olympic team is pretty small amount of biathlon experience, but they're really great Nordic skiers. And so even in the Grand Bornand for my, pre-race the day before, I was actually following Margie. Margie's an incredibly strong skier. So, I think definitely, learning from each other, going out on the course, following her, and then she'd follow me into the range and try to keep up shooting with me. And so it's definitely a collaboration. We want to be able to, not just fight for, 15th, 16th place. We're all really hungry as a women's team to kind of reestablish where we were before we lost, our powerhouses like Claire and Susan. So.
Is there any involvement from Claire and Susan on the team?
Currently, no. I mean, Susan, she helps coach the IBU Cup every once in a while. And I know she's working with Parabiathlon, which is super cool and a really unique way for her to give back. And she's obviously a really established coach in the Craftsbury biathlon area, especially with all the kids. She loves coaching the kids, and the kids love and adore her. I mean, she's an icon. So, but Claire now, I think she stepped back she was doing a lot of IBU duties and stuff like that as an athlete rep for a while, but now I think she's kind of just moved on to the next phase of her life. She definitely follows all our results. I'll still get a message from her saying congrats. But yeah, she's not really, I think she's living in like Washington DC now, doing cool something. I don't exactly know. I don't want to give her job away in case it's like top secret or something. You know how many languages she speaks? I don't know.
Oh, it's unbelievable. Yeah.
But does anybody ever just call them or reach out for, experience, their huge experience in certain stadiums or the Olympics or
Yeah, I mean, I remember having a hour-long conversation with Susan last year when I was struggling with some stuff, and she messaged me and offered some words of advice. So, I think we still get a lot of collaboration from the old guard, and so it's really cool. I mean, they have so much experience to share, and especially when things aren't going right, that's when I think you feel like you need a little bit more support from people, especially for me, the people who I grew into biathlon with.
Absolutely. So don't want to take up too much more of your time because I know you have to eat and you have a race coming up tomorrow now. But I had a couple more things for you. But one of them was when you saw your fiance in Hochfilzen, did you have no idea he was even in town, or was it a surprise just to see him in the finishing area? Because it was a very sweet moment.
So I knew that he was going to try to make it to Hochfilzen on time for my race. But earlier that day, I kind of just I told him this is where you can find a credential. This is where you can park the car. I'll see you if I see you. And so he was training over in Kreuzberg Pass in Italy, and he was on his way to actually one of his World Cups because he's still racing. And he just dropped off his stuff at his hotel and came over and saw me for the day. And it was really cool. So it wasn't until I think it was the first lap. I was going around the far corner and I heard his voice scream my name because he always says my name more uniquely than everyone else, and nickname. And then I was like, oh my God, he's here. And then, of course, I go to the range. I shoot the first whatever. And then I come out of the range. And then all of a sudden, we go right through the start finish pen. And then I hear his voice there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, now he's here, And so I figured he was going to stay there and watch. So it wasn't until I think then I finished another shooting. I can't remember how I shot that day. I shot pretty well, but it was one of the ones where I like cleaned and I came out of the range that I finally like felt like I could smile at him. And so then I like smiled at him during the race. Kind of did a little wave. But definitely once I finished the race, I definitely was just like, all right, move people. Where is he? Where is he? You know, I hadn't seen him for probably about like 2.5 weeks or something. So yeah, it was really amazing to have him there at the finish line and have such a great result again. And definitely, like I said, at that point, I knew I had solidified my Olympic start. So it was so nice to be able to celebrate with him as early as I was able to.
That was, it was really cool. It was really neat to see that. So, I love hearing stories like that. But now the real question is, do you have an engagement ring with you, and do you race with it? Because that's crazy.
I do have my engagement ring on, and I do race with it on.
Man,
yeah,
I would be so nervous doing that.
It's not too big. It's not like it's a huge like marquee diamond.
So I wonder if I
like
missed.
that.
I'm missing something. Yeah, because it's covered by your gloves at least, right?
Yeah, no, totally covered by my gloves.
I know. It's just
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even so, Lena Hecky asked me the other day because she noticed I was wearing an Aura ring on my shooting finger, and she was like, "Do you wear that in the race?" And I was like, "Yeah." I figured I'd just try it, you know, because like whatever, it's supposed to track your health and stuff like that. And so far, I haven't noticed an issue. But like, yeah, I've been racing with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 5 rings on my fingers for the past like 3 or 4 years. Yeah. I like wearing rings, so they're like all over.
That's awesome.
Oh, are we getting? So yeah.
So now I'm thinking maybe if you add a magnet in your stock to help a solid placement of your hand when you're shooting, maybe you're onto something.
Ooh. I don't know. Someone would probably try it, and then it would be illegal or something. You know. Like, I can't remember what that was. Like Vetla was trying to change where his magazines were. I also don't know if sketchy.
Right. What's your?
I think my internet is finally. I don't know if my internet's. Is it okay on your end? Are you still recording? Okay.
It's trying to die on us.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So I have one more question because I'm a rifle nerd. What's your relationship with your rifle?
Okay, so she doesn't have a name, but she has a gender. She's a girl, for sure. She gets cleaned about once a month. I'm not like really great at like cleaning her unless it's raining or something. So I would say we have a good relationship, but like, you know, she has an attitude. I think we're really similar. Sometimes she just doesn't want to perform.
So it's not you then. It's the rifle. It's her.
I mean, sometimes I will take a lot of the good and bad credit for some of the shots. But yeah, sometimes it's her fault. Sometimes like something will just fall off and I don't know why. And I'm like, I swear I tightened that down 2 days ago and it'll just fall off. So, you know, I think she likes to keep me guessing. Sights fall out sometimes. That happened to me in a race in Oslo. Like my front sight just like disappeared. I was like, cool. I guess I don't know what to do, you know? So yeah, she likes to keep me on my toes.
Yeah.
I think I missed most of that. So I don't know, Jordan, I don't know if you had any Out of question still, but
I do.
also
I have
given
one.
The fact that we've been chatting for an hour.
One very important last question.
Okay.
The Packers are playing at the Bears on, I can't remember if it's Saturday or Sunday now. How are you going to watch the game, and how's it going to go down?
Okay. I can't tell you how I'm going to watch the game because it's mostly legal streams, totally legal, very legal. I pay subscriptions and everything. I do not use
yes, of
illegal
course.
streaming links.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. But yeah, The Packers are definitely going to beat the Bears. I mean, we own the Bears. The Bears still suck.
There you go.
You know, we it's at Lambeau or is it at Chicago?
It's in Chicago, so you get to take their brownies.
There you go. So we just get to, I mean, we own Chicago, so whatever, it's fine. And we'll probably hunt a few bears in northern Wisconsin and bring them down there as sacrifices and eat them, the usual Wisconsin cheesehead fans things. I think my internet keeps going out. Everybody got back from training.
All right. Well, we'll let you go. We appreciate all the time you were able to give us.
Absolutely.
Seriously, a sincere, there she goes.